Dear friend, I have just returned from Chad where I visited our newest project, the Village Altonodji Orphan Center in Mundu. Since my last trip, I've had one thought that occupied my mind when thinking of Chad, and that was how harsh a place it is. Everything about the place is harsh. The weather, the land, the food, the lack of comforts we take so much for granted, infrastructure, roads, transportation, sanitation, healthcare, lack of goods, and high prices. And I ask myself, what can we do to help the people that live there? This might further illustrate how difficult living in Chad is. Upon arriving in Mundu, we learned that this city of 500,000 people had been without electricity for 65 days. Can you imagine a city of that size in the United States without electricity for so long? In the face of enormous obstacles, there are glimmers of hope and encouragement in this land. Chadian men and women of incredible faith have been seeking and doing God's work. Recently, they were inspired to build the first of what is hoped to be many Chadian built and operated orphan centers. These centers, like small, self-contained villages, would care for and train up children who would otherwise be forgotten. As we had already been supporting orphans in Chad since 2004, they asked us to help them get started.
We don't need to say what we are doing.
Upon our arrival at the Village Altonodji Orphan Center located just outside Mundu, we couldn't help but think of the great majesty of our God who orchestrated the coming together of so many resources which have empowered Chadians in the Chadian Church to build and operate the center which we sponsored. We were among the first Westerners to visit the center since opening just 2 months earlier. Our hearts were filled with joy when we saw the orphans and widows living and going to school there after several years of work and preparation to make this center a reality. At the time of our visit, there were 43 orphan children and 4 widows acting as surrogate mothers. Life there is organized and well-disciplined. 6 days a week, the orphans' day looks something like this. By 7 a.m., the children have gotten up, dressed, and had breakfast. From 7 to 7:20, they assemble in front of their respective classrooms. At this time, an inventory of the children's needs are taken. Those with health problems are seen by the nurse and medications dispensed. Many of the children suffer from malaria, which requires daily medications. At 7:30, classes begin. As the children attend classes, meal preparations are underway. Food is prepared from scratch, mostly from millet, which grows well in Chad. Millet is somewhat similar to our corn and is a big part of the Chadian diet. One day, the children had peanut butter made the same morning from ground-up peanuts. Fruits and vegetables are grown on campus to help supplement their needs, but most food is purchased at local markets. It is the goal of the center to become self-sufficient by developing a farming program on their own land in a neighboring village. Cooking is an arduous task for all 4 widow mothers, who are also each responsible for the care of 11 orphan children.
Pray that God will help us to feed those orphans and also to cure some who are sick, because many have sickness in them before coming here. So pray that God will help.
The Village Altonodji Education Center consists of 13 classrooms for grades K through 12, plus a vocational training building. In addition to the 43 residential orphans, the school has become part of the Christian outreach and has opened its doors to the surrounding community, affording an education to 200 children in all. Chadian children have an almost reverent-like attitude toward education. They realize the importance of an education and take it very seriously. Given the choice between studying and play, all the children we interviewed chose studying as their favorite pastime. Paper and pencils are scarce, so younger children are given a small handheld blackboard and chalk to write and work math problems on. By the end of the day, the children are covered in chalk dust.
Il n'y a personne qui soit comme Jésus. Vous connaissez ça? Oui. Il n'y a personne qui soit comme Jésus.
At the heart of Village Altonodji is a church which further serves the purpose of reaching out to the community. Orphan children, as well as neighborhood students, attend a chapel service every Wednesday at noon. The service serves to reinforce Christian values while worshiping and learning the Bible.
Amen. You have to transform the life of these young, to give them hope so that they can realize that this is a place for them to love God, to consider each other, and to know that God is taking care of them.
At 1 o'clock, all the children are served lunch, which the widow mothers have been preparing all morning. The process of feeding so many children in an orderly fashion is well orchestrated. The children are fed in shifts, starting with the youngest first, while the older children assist. After eating, the neighborhood children attending school at the center leave for home. The resident orphan children have an hour of rest and quiet time, followed by an hour and a half of study time, where they may go to the newly built library for additional resources and computer access. After studies, the children have 2 hours of free time, where they may play communal games, try out the latest dance steps, or just hang out with their best friends. It is during this time that they can take care of their own necessary chores. At 6 o'clock, the children are fed dinner before retiring to their respective dorms for study time. By now, the sun has gone down on the village, and until electricity is installed in the dorms, the children study by kerosene lamp. 9 o'clock is mandatory lights out and silence. Though they live in a land where education and opportunity are scarce, the orphans' lives are rich with faith in God, hope in a future, and the prospect of a meaningful life. Many of the children possess only what can be piled into the corner of their rooms. All the clothes they have fit inside a small travel bag. But when asked about what they can become, a smile comes across their face and they speak with certainty and the wonder of their bold plans.
Grâce à cet établissement, je me suis
Thanks to the village Altonodji, I can be an engineer tomorrow. And to learn new things will help me tomorrow. And also here you have a computer room, so I will learn computer here.
There are still many needs for Village Altonodji. Among them are electricity for lighting, medicines, a security wall for protection from robbers, and additional operating funds to expand the number of orphans and widows living in the village, and the necessary corresponding teachers and administrators. I will not soon forget the administrators, teachers, orphan children and widows of Village Altonodji during my visit. What they have achieved by the grace of God on their own initiative with our support is a very good thing. It's a beginning, a very fine beginning.
Je m'appelle Maureen Benedict, je suis au village Altonodji en classe de 6e.
Okay, I am glad to be in this bed and thank the mission child who help us for many things here.